First contact and defiance. The quantum detection grid hummed silently in the void between Mars and Jupiter, invisible to conventional sensors, but ever vigilant. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her station in the Helios Defense Command Center, buried deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, when the first anomaly appeared. The grid had detected a vessel using technology that didn't match any known human signature, attempting to mask its presence while observing Earth. "Director Reynolds," she called out, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We have confirmation of non-human surveillance. Pattern matches theoretical models for faster-than-light technology." James Reynolds, director of Earth's Unified Defense Force, approached her station with measured steps. After decades of preparation, humanity's greatest test had arrived. "Show me," he said simply. A holographic display expanded, revealing the intruder's position and technical specifications. The vessel employed what it believed to be cutting-edge stealth technology, unaware that humanity had long since transcended such conventional approaches to concealment. "They think they're invisible," Sarah noted, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Should we maintain the facade?" Reynolds considered the question carefully. Earth had spent the last century preparing for this moment, ever since the discovery of the quantum frequency that had revealed the existence of galactic civilization. While other worlds had developed along predictable technological paths, humanity had taken a different approach, focusing on understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. "No," he decided. "It's time to show them we're not what they expect. Initiate Protocol Aurora." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations hummed to life. Quantum fields shifted, revealing a network of advanced defense platforms and monitoring stations that had remained invisible to even their own conventional sensors. The alien vessel suddenly found itself surrounded by technology it couldn't comprehend. Aboard the Imperial scout ship Vigilant, Captain Zextol felt his secondary heart skip a beat as his sensor officer reported the impossible. Where moments before there had been empty space, now dozens of structures shimmered into existence, their power signatures unlike anything recorded in Imperial databases. "Impossible," he muttered, all four eyes widening. "Our stealth systems are perfect. They couldn't have." A communication request cut through his ship's supposedly impenetrable electronic defenses with embarrassing ease. On the main screen, a human face appeared. Director Reynolds, though Zextol didn't yet know his name. "Greetings, visitors," Reynolds said calmly. "Welcome to Earth's solar system. We've been expecting you." Zextol fought to maintain his composure. This was not how first contact scenarios typically played out. Primitive worlds were supposed to be oblivious to their observation, allowing the Empire to evaluate them properly before deciding how to proceed with their civilization process. "This is Captain Zextol of the Galactic Empire," he responded, falling back on diplomatic protocol. "We come in peace to evaluate your world for potential membership in our enlightened civilization." Reynolds smiled, but there was steel beneath the expression. "Captain, let's be honest with each other. You came to assess our weaknesses and determine the most efficient way to absorb our world into your empire. But as you can see, we're not quite as primitive as you expected." The human's directness shocked Zextol. No species had ever dared to speak to an Imperial representative this way. Before he could formulate a response, his tactical officer called out in alarm. "Captain, we're detecting quantum-level scans of our entire ship. They're reading everything. Our technology, our databases, our—" "That's correct," Reynolds interrupted. "We've already analyzed your vessel's capabilities and accessed your computer systems. We know about the Empire's standard procedures for incorporating new worlds. We know about the fleet waiting at the edge of your claimed space, and we know about the other civilizations you've enlightened." Zextol felt the situation spinning wildly out of control. "This is an outrage. The Empire will not." "The Empire will do nothing for now," Reynolds stated firmly. "You'll return to your superiors with a message. Earth is not available for membership in your empire. We reject your offer preemptively. Furthermore, We will be monitoring your activities in this sector of space very carefully. The implied threat was clear, made all the more potent by the casual display of technological superiority. Zextal wanted to bluster and threaten, but the evidence of humanity's capabilities surrounded his ship. For the first time in his career, he faced a species that didn't fear the Empire. "Return to your space, Captain," Reynolds continued. "Tell your superiors what you've seen here. Tell them that humanity walks a different path. We will not be civilized, standardized, or controlled. The choice of how we proceed from here lies with the Empire." As the communication ended, Zextal's ship found itself being gently but irresistibly pushed out of the solar system by forces his engineers couldn't explain. The Empire had encountered something unprecedented, a civilization that had developed along completely different lines, achieving technologies that seemed to defy the understood laws of physics. When the Vigilant finally returned to Imperial space, Zextal knew his report would shake the Empire to its foundations. Humanity had not just rejected Imperial authority. They had demonstrated the power to enforce that rejection. The galaxy was about to change, and the Empire would have to adapt or face consequences its leaders could barely imagine. Hidden strength. High Admiral Krell stood before the Imperial Council, his scaled skin reflecting the dim light of the ancient chamber. The silence that followed Captain Zextal's report hung heavy in the air. Dozens of the Empire's most powerful leaders sat in stunned disbelief as they reviewed the sensor data from the Vigilant's encounter with Earth. "Impossible," muttered Science Minister Vax. "Their technological development violates every model we've established over 10,000 years of Imperial expansion. No species progresses like this." "And yet," Krell responded, his voice grave, "the evidence is undeniable. Not only did they detect our stealth systems, but they also penetrated our most sophisticated defenses as if they weren't there. The humans possess technology that operates on principles we don't understand." The Emperor himself, rarely present at council meetings, leaned forward on his crystalline throne. "What troubles me more is their attitude. They knew of us before we arrived. They were prepared. This suggests deeper implications." As if on cue, Intelligence Director Mira stepped forward, her holographic form flickering slightly. "Your Majesty, we've uncovered disturbing information. Following the Earth incident, I ordered a deep analysis of unusual events throughout our expansion zones. We found patterns." The chamber's main display came to life, showing dozens of worlds where Imperial expansion had mysteriously failed or encountered unexpected resistance. Worlds that should have been easy to absorb had somehow developed defense capabilities just in time to resist. Trade routes that should have forced economic dependency have been circumvented by alternatives that hadn't existed before. "For at least 50 years, Mira continued, someone has been working against us in the shadows. Not through direct confrontation, but by helping worlds maintain their independence. We're now certain it was Earth." The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. The Empire had always assumed its setbacks were isolated incidents, but seeing them laid out as a pattern revealed a carefully orchestrated campaign of resistance. Meanwhile, on Earth, Director Reynolds sat in a secure conference room with representatives from dozens of worlds that had successfully resisted Imperial influence. The meeting was being held in a quantum-shifted space, making it undetectable to Imperial surveillance. "The Empire knows now," Reynolds addressed the gathering. "They've discovered our role in helping your worlds maintain independence. The question is, how do we proceed?" Ambassador Lyra from the Centauri Alliance rose, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with emotion. "Earth has been our silent guardian for decades. Your quantum technology allowed us to develop our own path without Imperial interference. But now we must stand with you openly. The Empire won't accept this challenge to their authority quietly," warned Representative Cuttle of the Free Worlds Confederation. "They'll gather their fleets. They'll try to make an example of Earth." Reynolds nodded, activating a holographic display of the galaxy. Hundreds of points of light indicated worlds that had benefited from Earth's subtle intervention. We've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Our quantum network connects all of your worlds. Our shared technologies have evolved beyond anything the Empire can comprehend. But more importantly, we've proven that diversity in development leads to stronger civilizations than imperial uniformity. In another quantum-shifted laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sarah Chen worked with a team of scientists from 20 different species. Their current project represented the next phase of technological evolution, a way to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe that would make even Earth's current capabilities seem primitive. The Empire built their civilization on the assumption that there's only one path to advancement. She explained to a visiting delegation. They enforce uniformity because they believe it's the only way to maintain stability. But we proved them wrong. By helping worlds develop along their own unique paths, we've discovered technologies and possibilities they never imagined. Back in the Imperial Council chamber, the Emperor had heard enough. We cannot allow this challenge to our authority to stand. Earth and its allies must be brought to heel, or everything we've built over millennia will be questioned. Prepare the fleet. High Admiral Krell hesitated. Your Majesty, given their technological superiority, perhaps we should consider diplomatic. The Empire does not negotiate with primitives who refuse civilization. The Emperor cut him off. If Earth will not accept our enlightened guidance willingly, they will be made to accept it by force. As orders went out across Imperial space, mobilizing the largest fleet ever assembled, quantum sensors on Earth and its allied worlds detected every movement. In his office, Reynolds received the reports with calm determination. The Empire was about to learn that raw power meant nothing against an enemy they couldn't understand or predict. Send word to our allies, he instructed his staff. Phase 2 begins now. The Empire wanted to find us. Let's show them exactly what they found. Throughout the galaxy, hidden quantum installations activated. Technologies that defied imperial physics began to emerge from shadows they'd never known existed. The true scale of Earth's influence was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Imperial Ultimatum. The Imperial diplomatic vessel Eternal Might dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, its massive form deliberately intimidating. Unlike the scout ship that had first discovered Earth's true nature, this vessel made no attempt to hide. It was accompanied by a fleet of 50 warships, their weapon systems humming with barely contained energy. Lord Prosecutor Xerxen stood on the command deck, his ceremonial armor glinting under the lights. As the Empire's highest diplomatic authority, he rarely left the capital world. His presence here highlighted the gravity of the situation. Transmit the Emperor's message, he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of imperial authority. On Earth, Director Reynolds watched the transmission with his senior staff in the Helios Command Center. The Imperial Lord Prosecutor's image loomed large on the main screen, his expression stern and unyielding. People of Earth, Xerxen began, your defiance of imperial authority and your interference in imperial affairs can no longer be tolerated. The Emperor, in his infinite wisdom, offers you one final opportunity to submit to civilization. Surrender your technology, accept imperial guidance, and your past transgressions will be forgiven. Reynolds glanced at Dr. Chen, who nodded silently. Their quantum networks had already analyzed the Imperial fleet's capabilities. Despite its impressive size, it posed no real threat to Earth's defenses. But that wasn't the point of this confrontation. Furthermore, Xerxen continued, you will provide a full accounting of all worlds you have corrupted with your interference. These worlds will be given the same opportunity for peaceful submission. Refuse, and the Empire will be forced to demonstrate the consequences of defying imperial will. You have 6 hours to comply. As the transmission ended, Reynolds turned to his assembled staff. Well, he said with a slight smile, they certainly know how to make an entrance. Dr. Chen, are our allies in position? Sarah nodded, activating a holographic display of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light pulsed in synchronization, representing every world and civilization that had chosen to stand with Earth. The quantum network is active. Everyone is ready for Phase 2. In deep space, aboard the research vessel Quantum Leap, Professor Marcus Wong put the finishing touches on humanity's response to Imperial aggression. His team had spent decades developing technologies that didn't just surpass Imperial understanding. They rewrote the rules of what was possible. "The quantum resonance field is stable," he reported via the secure network. "We can proceed whenever you're ready, Director." 5 hours and 55 minutes after the Imperial ultimatum was delivered, Earth responded. But not just Earth. Every world that had benefited from human assistance, every civilization that had chosen independence over Imperial uniformity, acted in perfect coordination. Across the galaxy, quantum fields shifted. Hidden technologies revealed themselves. Defense systems that the Empire had never detected emerged from dimensional spaces their sensors couldn't perceive. In an instant, the true scale of Earth's influence became clear. Lord Prosecutor Xerxon watched in growing horror as his tactical displays lit up with thousands of signatures. The 50 ships he had brought as a show of force now seemed pathetically inadequate. But it wasn't just the numbers that disturbed him. It was the nature of what he was seeing. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as entire sectors of space seemed to ripple with energies his instruments couldn't classify. "What have they done?" Reynolds stood before the global quantum communications array, broadcasting not just to the Imperial fleet, but to every world in the galaxy. "Lord Prosecutor, the Empire has fundamentally misunderstood the situation. We are not rebels to be suppressed or primitives to be civilized. We represent something far more important, proof that your way is not the only way." The holographic display showed images from hundreds of worlds, civilizations that had developed along their own unique paths, achieving technological and cultural advances that the Empire's enforced uniformity had never imagined possible. "For decades, we have helped worlds resist Imperial standardization, not through violence or force, but by showing them alternatives. Each civilization you see has developed its own unique solutions, its own path to advancement. Together, we've achieved things your Empire never dreamed possible because you were too focused on forcing everyone to follow your single path." In Imperial space, the Emperor himself watched the transmission with growing unease. Reports were flooding in from every sector. Worlds that had seemed primitive or compliant were suddenly revealing technologies that defied Imperial understanding. The carefully maintained hierarchy of his empire was crumbling before his eyes. "This is your true failure," Reynolds continued. "Not that you couldn't detect our technology or predict our actions, but that you couldn't imagine a galaxy where diversity creates strength, where different paths lead to different discoveries, all equally valid." Sarah Chen's quantum sensors detected the power spike before the Imperial ships could act. "They're preparing to fire," she reported calmly. Reynolds nodded. "Let them try. It's time to show them the difference between power and understanding." As the Imperial fleet opened fire, their energy weapons seemingly passing through empty space where Earth's defenses had been, humanity demonstrated why they had spent decades preparing for this moment. The true battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin, and it would be fought with technologies that the Empire couldn't even comprehend, let alone counter. The Shadow War. The Imperial capital world of Nova Imperialis burned with activity as emergency councils convened in every major governmental chamber. 3 months had passed since Earth's dramatic revelation of its alliance network, and the Empire was facing a crisis unprecedented in its 10,000-year history. High Admiral Krell stood before the Emperor's War Council, his normally immaculate uniform showing signs of strain. "The situation continues to deteriorate, Your Majesty. Our attempts to suppress rebel worlds have been unsuccessful. Unsuccessful." The Emperor's voice cracked with rage. "Our finest fleets vanish without trace. Our most secure communications are intercepted before they're even sent. Loyal worlds turn against us overnight, wielding technologies we can't even detect. This is far beyond unsuccessful, Admiral." The holographic display in the center of the chamber told the story. Sectors that had been under firm Imperial control for millennia were declaring independence daily. Earth's quantum network had spread like an invisible web through Imperial space, offering protection and technological advancement to any world that chose to resist. In orbit around a formerly loyal Imperial manufacturing world, the Imperial dreadnought Unwavering Might discovered just how outmatched they truly were. Captain Lyra, a member of Earth's Special Operations Division, watched from her quantum-shifted vessel as the massive warship attempted to bombard the planet's surface. "They still don't understand," she murmured, watching the Imperial weapons fire pass harmlessly through quantum-shifted defense shields. "They're fighting a war with rules that don't apply anymore." Her ship, the Event Horizon, represented humanity's latest advancement in quantum engineering. It didn't just avoid detection. It existed partially outside normal spacetime, allowing it to observe and act with complete impunity. "All teams in position," her tactical officer reported. "The quantum field is stable, ready to proceed." Lyra nodded. "Execute Operation Paradigm Shift." Across the sector, dozens of quantum-shifted vessels activated their specialized equipment. The space around the Imperial fleet began to ripple as fundamental forces were locally rewritten. The mighty dreadnought found itself unable to maintain its position as gravitational forces shifted unpredictably. "This is Captain Lyra of the Earth Alliance," she transmitted to the panicking Imperial vessel. "Your weapons cannot harm this world anymore. Your authority here has ended. Choose wisely." Back on Earth, Director Reynolds met with the Alliance Council, representatives from thousands of freed worlds gathering in quantum-linked conference chambers. The holographic participants filled the massive room, each bringing reports of successful resistance against Imperial power. "The Empire's grip is failing," announced Kittel, his reptilian features set in a grim smile. "Their attempts to maintain control only demonstrate their powerlessness against our quantum technology." Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward, her latest research results displaying in the air around her. "We've made another breakthrough. The quantum resonance field can now be extended to cover entire sectors. Within these fields, Imperial technology simply stops working." The implications were staggering. It wasn't just a military advantage. It was a fundamental reorganization of how power could be exercised in the galaxy. The Empire's strength had always been based on technological superiority and the ability to project force. Earth and its allies had changed the rules of the game entirely. In a secret facility beneath Mars' surface, Professor Wong's team monitored the quantum network's expansion. "Every world that joins us strengthens the field," he explained to a group of newly liberated world representatives. "The Empire's uniformity is their weakness. Each unique technological approach our allies develop adds another layer of complexity they can't counter." The Empire's response to their growing crisis proved their fundamental inability to adapt. They launched massive fleet actions, only to find their ships emerging from faster-than-light travel in empty sectors, their targets having shifted reality around them. They attempted to isolate and blockade resistant worlds, only to discover their quarantine lines were meaningless against quantum tunneling technology. In desperation, the Emperor ordered his scientists to replicate Earth's quantum technology. But after centuries of enforced technological uniformity, Imperial science had lost the ability to think beyond its established principles. They couldn't even properly analyze how Earth's technology functioned, let alone reproduce it. Lord Prosecutor Xerxen, who had delivered the Empire's ultimatum months ago, stood in a private audience with the Emperor. "We face a choice, Your Majesty. We can continue to spend lives and resources fighting a war we cannot win, or, the Emperor demanded. "Or we can recognize that the galaxy has changed. Earth and its allies aren't just fighting our military. They're proving our entire philosophy of civilization wrong." Their victory was assured the moment they showed the galaxy that diversity breeds strength. As if to punctuate his words, alerts blared throughout the Imperial Palace. The quantum field had reached the edge of Imperial space. The core worlds were now surrounded by civilizations they couldn't control, couldn't understand, and couldn't defeat. In Earth's Helios Command Center, Reynolds watched the Imperial capital's growing isolation with quiet satisfaction. "They're running out of options," he observed to his staff. "Soon they'll have to face the truth. The age of Imperial uniformity is over. The galaxy is embracing a new way forward, whether they like it or not." The Shadow War was reaching its climax, but the true revolution had already succeeded. Earth hadn't just defeated the Empire's military. It had shattered the very foundations of Imperial power. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity had led the way to a future even they couldn't fully imagine. New Dawn. The Imperial Palace on Nova Imperialis stood silent, its ancient halls empty for the first time in 10,000 years. In the Grand Throne Room, Emperor Vexthor sat alone, watching through quantum-enhanced displays as his empire crumbled. Not through violence or conquest, but through choice. World after world simply opted out of Imperial control. Director Reynolds stood on the observation deck of Gateway Station, Earth's first visible installation that had so unsettled the Imperial scouts what felt like a lifetime ago. The station now served as a symbol of the new galactic order, a meeting place where civilizations could share their unique developments and discoveries freely.